Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mental Health Matters for December 5th. I'm here again with Shawn McCowan. Shawn, glad to be with you today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Since it's December and we have a lot of the holiday stuff coming up, of course, there's a lot of busyness for everybody, and we know that's all normal. And I know that the holidays can bring a lot of happiness and joy for people. But we also know that this is also the time of year when there's a lot of folks struggling because they've lost loved ones, whether it's recent and maybe a long time ago. Talk to us a little bit today about maybe some things you can do to help cope with some of that. I know that, for example, here at Emmanuel, we have Grief Share, which we always do a program through them this time of year about coping with the holidays, and we know that's helpful. But anything you might talk about for individuals today that are having a hard time this time of year?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great topic. And grief's a tricky thing because there are some concepts in the grief process that are fairly general and fairly uniform for most people. Everybody's heard of those 5 stages, but it's an individual experience. So the things that you may be feeling or thinking during the grief process, maybe even after the grieving process, especially around things like holidays, milestone days, more than holidays, I guess I should say the anniversary of the loss of somebody, or a major traumatic event or a major life event. And so holidays tend to be one of those milestones.
Yeah.
And that's where those memories come back up. But if it's the loss of a loved one or a loss of a relationship, certainly remembering those days with that person makes grief a little bit more of a challenge on those days when they're not there. But this is definitely one of those situations where I would say finding somebody to help bear that burden with, or talking to a counselor is one of those ways to get an objective but sympathetic and empathetic voice and a set of ears and a heart to be able to process those things with.
Great. I know, talking from just my own experience as pastor and dealing with, and not dealing with, I guess not the right word, but helping people at this time, or just grieving in general, just some things to avoid as you're trying to help somebody. Avoid saying things like, well, that person's in a better place, or, we're glad they're better now. And some of that may be true. There's a great book, Don't Sing Songs to a Heavy Heart by Kenneth Hawk, Stephen Ministries. Shared a lot of those kinds of lessons that I learned early on. And I think from my experience, just outside of professional counseling stuff, some of the best things that we can do is just simply be there with the person, that ministry of presence, just to grieve with them. Honestly, sometimes saying nothing is the best thing to do, I know, and to just to be there and just to express your sorrow with them and say, I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. We can't fix it for them, right? All we can do is walk on them with that journey. Any more thoughts kind of along those lines?
No, I think that's right on target. Whether you're talking to a pastor or a close friend, another loved one, or a counselor, even there's no point in the person having those ears or having that heart saying I understand. Even if they're a family member, it doesn't guarantee they believe you understand exactly what I'm going through. We all go through this process ourselves, this grieving ourselves. So the easiest way, like you said, is just to listen, to be present, and not to try to volunteer anything that is from your own perspective. Sometimes people want to share, like Grief Share. There's a place for it, but people want to share their perspective about how, well, this is how I feel about it, or how I see it. That tends not to help. That if you want to help, and it sounds like the person wants to help, and I believe that, but it doesn't help. And most of the time, the best thing to do is to be sympathetic, empathetic, be present, and be there however they need you to be there. To try to solve grief is fruitless. So we can be present and give them compassion, love, patience. That's the best way to help.
Yeah, as you say that, it reminded me of a portion of that book that brought up the fact that you're entering into their space and you're trying to help them. And just like you would at somebody's home, you're not there to rearrange or clean stuff up. You're there just to be and to join them in that spot, and to really let them, if they start to bring certain topics up, it's certainly a good time to do those things and enter into that. But sharing your own stories ends up being a little more self-serving than others. And when they open up those windows of opportunity, for example, holiday season, it may that we get to Christmas conversations or whatever. And especially even there, to be gentle with that stuff. And that's when we may be able to bring stuff like Christ into the picture in a safe way, so as not to get reactionary, but to point to the hope we have that does come with this season. But again, I think that you have to be very careful, even there, just talking and letting them introduce those topics and go where they lead as they're ready to cope. So
absolutely, if they want to hear how you battled with something, if it was something that was similar, they'll ask. And if they don't ask, then just be there for them.
Well, Shawn, thanks. There's some really good tips. Please reach out. Again, I'm always available. I know Shawn is able to be reached out to for potential appointments if those things. And if you are struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out to somebody. You're loved, and people want to be able to help you at those different moments. And we would love to lend an ear to help you. God's
Amen.
blessings to you. Have a great day.
Bye.